I'm here to share my experience and to learn as well, because I firmly believe that the collective knowledge of all of you is much more than what I have. So that's very interesting, right? And when I heard the release planning word for the first time, I searched for it because I had not heard 10 years back. And then at that time, what it is, how it should be done. And there are so many things when we talk about the release planning. And that's what I am going to share with you and learn something from you as well. We will talk about different ways to do release planning, different types of release planning, in the sense that whether it's about fixed date or, right, the iron triangle. If cost is fixed, what should be done? If scope is fixed or everything is fixed, how do we go about it? That's what we are going to talk about. Now, almost all of you know me, right? I'm Rahul Shah, and I have 2 decades of experience. And while I was preparing for this presentation, I was thinking that, yeah, even in our life as well, right? When we change job, when we move from one company to another, or we go for a particular certifications, that's also something is a plan, right? Probably we don't, most of us don't plan it that way, but if we plan it, then certainly we are going to get much more benefit than this. And I'm also, as you might be knowing, I'm also learning a new language, Sanskrit. And last, I think last week I got the certificate from IIT Roorkee for clearing the course 4 from Subhasitam Sanskritam. So that's working well. And I think if you look at from the dates as well, like the fourth course was for around 1 month, 15th of October to 10th of November. I think they also delivered the course in batches. I won't call it iterations, but certainly if we call iterations as well, nothing wrong. But certainly if they had planned for the 5 courses, 5 levels, they also had planned that how do we want to deliver. Because if they had delivered all at once, probably I would not have got this certification, or this is the 4th certificate. And then probably they also would not know that how it is working out. This is directly related to the release planning as well. One of the aspect why we do release planning, one of the key aspect is to get feedback, inspect and adapt. How, like in the Sanskrit course, how students are cope up with the learnings. Similarly, when we are releasing a software product services, we also should be focusing on how it is going. That's directly related to that as well. Okay, so coming back, what I am going to cover today, what and why of release plan. Then we'll talk about overall how it looks like. And then when we talk about release planning, how do you decide on the release date? There are multiple factors which are part of this one. We'll talk about that as well. And when we are planning for a release, obviously management and stakeholders will be interested in when it will be done. That's the biggest question they have in their mind, right? We'll show you whatever I have, how, and then the release burn down, burn up chart, which I'm going to show you. Certainly we'll have more discussions on that one, but I think that certainly provides multiple aspects of where the release is right now, and probably it throws some aspects or some idea of where we are going as well. Questions, I'm perfectly fine if you interrupt me in between, or at the end we will have enough time, at least 15 minutes for questions and answers as well. Okay, so let me start with some facts and figures. So the question to everyone, how many times the word release planning is referred in Scrum Guide? And to make it very simple, there are few options. What do you think? You can put it in a chat window or speak up. This is just
I think none. Rahul.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nimish is saying none. Mayur is saying zero. None. Yeah, I think. I was really
I
surprised.
think 1 to 7 times.
Can you
One
come
to
again?
seven times.
No, there
One
hasn't.
to seven times.
Hmm. Actually, if you look at it, there aren't any reference of word release planning in the Scrum Guide. That's very interesting, right? We are talking about agile release planning. We refer to Scrum, but then the release planning word is not there. Let's discuss something more about it. So two questions. One is, what is the difference between agile release planning and release planning in agile? Do you think that okay, is there a difference? If there is a difference, say yes or type N in the chat window. What do you think? What do you think could be the difference between these two words or phrases? Okay, Harsha is saying no difference. Mm-hmm. Anybody else would like to say something about it or your views? So let me tell you, there is some difference, and I think that one is a big difference. The way agile release planning and then release planning in agile is there. Anybody would like to share their thoughts?
Comment, but I'm not too sure how far my answer is correct.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. So agile release planning, the release planning itself is in the agile form.
Okay.
Okay. So they might be releasing into the production in a agile way.
Correct. And
Yeah.
release planning in agile is normal, right? That's what you mean to say.
Yeah, there is a specific the agenda will be there in the release planning in agile. The number of user stories which will be delivered as part of a sprint plan,
Hmm.
and the collective sprint planning will be there, which forms an agile release. So there will be a value addition to the customer when it goes to the production.
Okay. Yeah. Very true, right? You mean to say that the release planning is not fixed. We cannot have a release planning done and then we won't look at it again. That's not possible. When we talk about the
However,
Agile Manifesto, yeah.
sorry to interrupt. So, agile release planning meaning it could be of any framework, not necessarily Scrum. Say, for example, if you go for SAFe, you could call
Hmm.
it as PA planning,
Hmm.
which could be of a quarterly release, which could equate to agile release planning. Whereas if you talk about release planning in agile, probably
Hmm.
it's like an onion shaped structure where you have daily planning, sprint planning,
Hmm.
then the hierarchy goes like that. The product vision, that is one of the aspects is release planning.
Oh, okay. Okay. So agile release planning is whatever the release plan you have, right? It's not the fixed one. Because anyway, as per the Agile Manifesto, we have to respond to change, right? We cater for the change even late in the development. That means whatever the planning we are doing is useful. But we are saying is agile. As and when required, we will continue to do the release planning. And release planning in agile is the normal one. Okay, this is one of the event. So what I mean to highlight specifically is even the release planning is very agile when we are using the agile manifest and agile uh, software development methodologies. And the second question is, how many times do we do release planning in a release? Say we have 10 iterations for a release or 6 iterations for a release. How many times do we do release planning? What do you think?
At the end of each sprint,
Okay. Uh, that means in the sprint planning, you mean to say?
no, at the end of sprint, after review,
Yeah, but what
after
event
after
would you consider?
after sprint
Okay.
review,
You mean to say after sprint ends, then you do the release planning. Okay.
yes, we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have like releases after 3 months also.
Mm-hmm.
So we do release planning for a year. 15, 20 days, we start 15, 20 days before the release, and we take those user stories in the sprint backlog as well.
Okay.
That's what we do.
So, Rahul, see, first, before we start the release,
Hmm.
we do the release planning.
Correct.
Then, at the end of each sprint, so where are we with respect to release goal? So, we will evaluate and we will do the again replanning, release planning. In case if any changes are there, we are going to discuss on that.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's the purpose. Very true. That's the purpose of putting the word or the phrase agile release planning, because it is not one time we are doing. We doing it multiple times, right? So if we are doing multiple time release planning, what is the value of planning we are doing? So I would like to quote Eisenhower, who was the 34th president of US as well, and he was actually a military colonel who was at the topmost post. He said, plans are nothing, planning is everything. Because when you plan something, right, you plan for something, then okay, you create one plan, but the details which come out of planning is very useful. You get so many things when you do the planning. So Eisenhower was in military and he said, whatever plan you do, right, when you go against enemy or go with enemy, and at the first impact by enemy, all your plans will go haywire. It may or may not work, right? You have to plan again. But if you have done the planning in such a way, or we can say the agile planning, you should be able to move very quickly. So like Girish mentioned, right, at the end of the sprint, you will revisit that where we are with respect to our release track. Whether are we on track or we are not on track. And then if a planning is needed, we should be doing. That's what we call it agile release planning. And that's what we want to discuss today as well. Thank you for sharing your views. So what is release planning in nutshell? Simple. Making the scope, time and budget trade-offs for incremental deliveries. That's what we want to do. Because say requirements are bound to change and there won't be enough time to complete everything. There will be always more requirements and then less time, budget or resources. So what we are saying is release planning is making the scope, time and budget trade-offs for incremental delivery. What should we build and by when? What if scenarios, right? We certainly would like to do this one. We have a product backlog and then we know that, okay, agile, we also doing sprint planning. And sprint planning, we are identifying, okay, what we will be working on for the next iteration, next sprint, for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the sprint duration is. However, we also should know that, okay, what if we build this stuff first and then if we build this stuff later on, what will happen? What will happen if we want to do both the things together? When it will be completed? Those answers we are looking for, right? And then the release planning will give us that picture so that we can take decisions. It's the process of creating very high level plan. See, anyway, sprint planning we are doing for 2 weeks of time or one iteration, right? But this one is for say 3 to 6 months of time frame or 3 to 12 or more iterations we want to cover. Then we will focus and then we'll do the release planning and then figure it out. Okay, what functionality we want to release by when? That's what we can say, it's the release planning. So what are the benefits? Why we should be doing release planning? See, the first thing is the need for planning, right? Planning is required. Even we are doing it for 2 weeks, right? We have a backlog refinement sessions as well. So we make sure that whenever the team is available for the sprint planning or ready to start the sprint, they have something readily available which can be picked up and they can directly start working on it. When I say readily available and they can start directly working on it, let me tell you that if 100% of items are available, If everything is crystal clear, probably Scrum might not be required. I say Scrum might not be required. I was attending one of the webinar, and then the person used a particular phrase, love for unknowns. I like that very much. So when you are in Scrum methodology, then you should have love for unknowns. You cannot say, no, I need everything crystal clear and then only we will be starting working on. Like definition of ready, you create a very long list of definition of ready. That probably is not going to work. So planning is required for reducing risk, reducing uncertainty, convey the information, right? Stakeholders and others, they are waiting for when this will be done. And that question is persistent. Every time they will be asking the same question again and again. We want to know what can be done by when. We want to answer like what is required for releasable product. See, when you are, we might know about the MVP term, minimum viable product, or minimum marketable features, right? That for customers, for which customer will be willing to pay, and our product will sustain or stand on its own in the competition. If we are not providing anything better than the competitor, probably no one is going to purchase that. Or sometimes you want to validate, right? That whether, like validating the hypothesis, okay, this is the very good idea, it should work like a gem, but we have to validate, right? We do not want to invest everything at first go. That's why the release planning will provide answer to what is required for releasable product. And certainly we need something like, we want, one of the Scrum value is focus, right? We want to focus on the product goal as well. It's kind of a guidepost for the team. How we are going to achieve our product vision. These are the steps. Product goal is the step. So the team is working on a product goal. This is what we want to achieve. That's why release planning is required. So what do you do in the release planning? What all is part of the release planning? Participants, obviously, Scrum team is required. Stakeholders are required. There may be some subject matter experts whom certainly we should call out, and then their help is also required. And any technical aspects to check the feasibility, right? The way the architecture is designed, if we are using already existing product or service, then certainly we need to know that one. So what goes into the release planning meeting? Product vision, why we want to do this one, and product goal is how do we achieve that product vision? Customer user journey, product backlog, which is already created. It depends, right? Whether you have a detailed backlog, some of them estimated, some of the requirements not estimated, anything is fine. And team velocity as well. Now, if team is new, you probably won't have the team velocity. And if a domain and the technology is also completely changed, probably team velocity might not work there as well. But yeah, certainly that would be one of the key input to release planning, because we will be estimating the size. Based on the velocity, we will know when this will be done, right? So that is required. And what will be the output? So from the product backlog, we have a release backlog, a subversion, a subset of the product backlog, that what needs to be done. Some of them might be estimated requirements, some of them very big requirements. You might have to break it down in the release planning. Another one would be the agile release plan. So release plan, there can be different versions, like it depends on company to company. Some of them will plan out based on the iterations, like we have say 10 iterations. They will have a detailed plan for first 8 iterations. Some of them, and I prefer at least first iteration, first 2 iterations, if you have the user stories identified, that what all will go into first 2 iterations, that should be good enough, so that we can start And then as we mentioned, we are doing agile release planning. So at the end of the sprint or any time, we will do release planning and work on it continuously. And dependencies as well. We want to reduce the risk as well. So certainly we should be able to identify the dependencies, what all dependencies we have, with whom we have dependencies, and then we can engage them as well. We can get their buy-in, and then if something is required from their side, commitment and other stuff, we can get that as well from them. What are the tools we can use? One of the tool which I prefer would be user story mapping. That certainly helps us in identifying MVP as well, based on what we have, like how much we can complete and other stuff. That provides the visual, like the product backlog. We had covered this in one of the session. So this gives a visual tool. It will tell us that what all is required to be completed for the release, right? And then if as it is visually available, so we can get these things done. Yes, Siva, do you have any questions or anything?
Yeah, here you told that about the dependencies. Can you give one or two examples about the dependencies? What kind of dependencies? Dependencies and risks, both are same or those are different? What is the dependencies meaning here?
Yeah, so
And Rahul, one more thing, one more question. Sorry to interrupt.
no issues.
So for this release planning, see, we participants and all you have mentioned. So who is actually accountable?
For the output,
Yeah, who will facilitate this release planning meeting?
Who
Who
is
is the owner
facilitating?
of release planning?
Yes,
Scrum Master.
Scrum Master will facilitate. But
Yeah.
release planning, if it is not proper, for example, so who is accountable? Is it PO?
So what will happen? Yeah, very good question. So what will happen if the release plan is not proper?
Yes, because for example, the
Hmm.
customer expectation is different, but we developed something, okay, and say for example, we may not complete all the requirements in the given release. So for that, who is accountable actually?
Yeah, so in Scrum, the accountability, return on investment, that accountability is with product owner. See, the how part is with the team, right?
How part is with the team?
Yeah,
But
but what should be built which will give us the maximum return on investment? See, one of the purpose of doing release planning is, like, there are so many requirements. The product backlog is very huge, and then we do not have enough time, and then we want to do iterative deliveries. So we should know that which requirement out of these 100 requirements, where the team can complete, say, around 30 requirements, give us those 30 requirements, and then the team will say, developers will say, okay, we will work, and then based on the definition of done, we'll make sure that there are no issues and other stuff. If the quality of that delivery is not proper, then again we should be, again it will go to the product owner, right, who has accepted those requirements and other stuff. So team members are responsible if the quality is not good, but accountability again will come with the product owner. Even in the first questions which you have asked, that the customer is expecting something different, and then we are building or giving the prioritized requirement which is not aligned with what customer is looking for, then who should be accountable for this one? You getting me?
yes, so that is product owner.
Yeah. See, what is the product vision? See, if you look at the item, right, the inputs, right, the product vision is there, product goal, like what is the goal for this release? What we should build so that our product vision is realized? Then the customer user journeys and other stuff. Obviously, team will have liberty to ask questions why, or then they will come up with different suggestions that, okay, can we do this way? Is it required? Or is that there is a workaround available, we probably need not do this one. I remember when I was in Allscripts, the product management had come up with some requirements related to charity in healthcare, something. And then initial estimates was around 2 months for 2 to 3 teams. And then there were some experts in the sense the developers. They said, okay, our product can be configured in such a way that without any development, we can give these charity features readily available to our customers. And product management were very happy. Okay, this is what we already have built that product available to us. So from that perspective, what I mean to say, developers, they will say, okay, how this can be done, how this can be released. But the charity, which is required feature, charity feature, that should come from the product management, because they will know that, okay, if releasing this product will make us the leader in the market, or whether this one is a regulatory requirement which must be released right now and other stuff. So from that perspective,
Rahul,
yeah,
one question. That means release planning meeting or whatever this release planning, it's done from product owner, or it is done only among product management, and the feasibility of executing that suggestions for that will be taken from team. Is that right? What you mean to say? Or
yeah, so see, product management, they would say that, okay, we want to release everything, all the features and everything should be released. That's what they are looking for. But whether it's a feasible or not, like the team velocity, we also will discuss. Remember the earlier slide we talked about that release planning is more about the iron triangle. The quality should not be impacted. How do we trade off between time, scope, and budget, and then work accordingly? So obviously, any product management, they say we need everything, right? We will cover some of, there is a slide like those are the practical scenarios. So we will talk about that as well. But it is not possible to complete everything. There will be always more items and less time to complete. Right? So we will need, see, even if you look at the tools, right? We certainly need the estimation techniques as well. Why? To speed up the stuff. Even the prioritization tools also will be required. I think in the January, I think Vijay already has shared the link. We talked about the prioritization techniques as well. And that probably is very much required, because normally what we have seen is when you ask product management, what is priority? They say everything is priority.
Yeah, Rahul, and one more thing.
Yeah,
See, here, usually the release planning, we are going to plan the features, correct? Not in terms of user stories.
So it depends, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I initially said, that what is the state of your product backlog right now? Some of them will even have the estimated backlog available. Some of them might not have, and then very high level, only the features will be available. See, whenever you do the release planning, right, we won't say that how accurate it can be, but if you have very little details available to you, right, then probably if management says that, okay, this is what we want to release, these are the 6 features we want to release, what would be the time frame? Then the answer would be, answer cannot be 6 iteration or 8 iterations. Fixed iteration cannot be, we cannot answer. Then we will have to use range, right? Because we have not spent enough time. We do not know the enough details. So we will say that, okay, this might take, or this will take around 6 to 10 iterations. And then management and product owner, they will come up, no, why you are saying 6 to 10 iterations? It's a very big range. Yeah, but even if we are spending, if we spend more time on it, we will get some better estimation. But if the requirements are not that clear, and then we don't want to commit and those kind of stuff.
So usually what kind of estimation technique they use for the features?
The features as well, see, relative estimations would be the best. You can use affinity estimate. So it can, this feature you pick up, normally the relative estimations would work out well. You can use t-shirt size, or you can even use the story points as well, can be used to that as well. So story points will be 13, 20, 40, 60, 100, 200. That would be the range.
Like epics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Krishna, what is your question?
Yeah, hi Rahul. So my question is, so is product roadmap and release planning are same? Not, can you tell me major differences?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Krishna. So product roadmap normally will have around 2 to 4 release, right? What will be there in next 2 to 4 releases? That's what we communicate by product roadmap. While the release planning is for the next upcoming release, right? So say roadmap, you will have release 1 in the table, right? The first column is release 1, release 2, release 3, and release 4. And then you might have the timeline as well, probably around what time you will be releasing. So probably you might have months initially, but then the later on you might put the quarterly release, because you don't want to commit everything, right? You don't know what will happen and other stuff. So that is the roadmap, that what kind of features will be part of in the next 1 year or next 4 releases. While the release planning, what we are doing is we are just picking up the next upcoming release, and then we are talking about that one, that what should go into that release. So so if I take a product roadmap as well into consideration, then almost they know that, okay, what kind of features will go into the next release. So they already had planned that out. That means that probably the product backlog is almost available to them. What detailed backlog, that's another stuff.
So is it, can we say that it's a more granular level of product roadmap, the release planning is?
So release planning is only for the upcoming release.
Yeah.
While that would be very granular. Probably we will be able to commit some of the features to customers, partners, and others. Oh, this is what is coming in the upcoming release. But product roadmap, we only talk about, okay, then this is what we intend to do. We don't commit. So say we are doing release planning for this one, right? Then in the roadmap, we will say, okay, this is what is coming and we are releasing. So that list would be almost full based on the capacity. But then the next 3 releases, right? We will pick up around 20-30% items, or sorry, 60-70% items, because there might be a regulatory requirement or something else might come up. So we don't want to fill everything and then want to commit to customers.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bala Ganesh.
Yeah, Vijay, sorry. I have a doubt, like, can we go into release planning without any features drafted?
Okay, so if you are product owner, why would you go for then a release planning? Yeah, so what you mean to say that if I have not identified anything, we do not have features. So do you have backlog available, or?
No, we have a goal. Like, for example, we need to migrate from old cloud to the new cloud. So that's the goal. But we don't have any features identified for it. Probably, maybe value streams might be there, but not features. Can we go into release planning just having that high level value streams in mind?
Yeah, you certainly can go into the release planning, but the time it will take, right, to come up with something, to actually plan out something, it might take more time, right? See, you have to do some pre-planning before coming to release planning, because what will happen if everybody is available together and then there are some roadblocks, or you are waiting, or you need someone without whom you won't be able to move forward, then the release planning, the time we are spending is not worth, right? So we should be doing some work before going for the release planning. Or then you do the release planning is kind of a discovery workshop, right? Where you want to identify that what should go, then you create even the high level features, epics, then break it down, then understand the requirement, and then estimate it, and then you do the planning. So it will take more time. But yeah, it can go for more than couple of days. That also should be fine. That is also it's doable.
Okay, so prioritized features can be also one of the point to the sheet which you are showing as input.
Yes, yes. So product backlog,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. So product backlog should be prioritized. Yeah, that certainly would work out well. Otherwise, you use the prioritization technique to make sure that the backlog is prioritized, so that we know that the product backlog, which is of 100 items, which are the top 30 items we should be picking up.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. I really appreciate everyone, those who ask questions. This is a very useful. That means that you are not, you are clearing your doubts. That's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, now another important question. How do you decide a release date? Right? So you might have a feature-driven planning or date-driven planning. Like what here I am saying is, what if the scope is fixed? So many times, generally people go with first two type of release planning. So what they say is, we want to go for this much of is our scope. So what we are looking for is, product owner will say, I want to release this X number of features, irrespective of how long does it take. So when I say irrespective of, doesn't mean that it will take endlessly and what get completed, but they will have already have identified from the product backlog, these are the features which I would like to be part of the next release. And that we call is a feature driven planning. At many places, what they say is, no, we want to do quarterly release for whatever reason. One of the simple reason is maybe there is a too much dependency between multiple. There is a too much dependencies between multiple products, right? If one product is released, then the product which is based on that product must be released, the compatible version and other stuff, right? So here we also discuss about the dependencies and other stuff. Dependencies can be anything. One of the example is, if we want to say, product owner might have prioritized, okay, these are the top 6 features we want to go for. Now there is a dependency of first feature with the 6th feature. Then we got technical dependencies or other stuff, that okay, to release the feature 1 or to start working on feature 1, we must complete the feature 6. Is the technical challenge, and that's the way the code has been written, or whatever could be the reason. So that is one type of dependencies we will identify, that okay, to complete feature 1 we need the feature 6. So we have to convey to product owner that okay, though product 6 is at a lower priority, but we will need to move it higher and then complete that as well. That is the internal dependency. There can be dependency which is external as well, with some another team. For a piece of code, right, we are using a common component, and then we would like to add some new functionalities to that common component. Now that one is developed by some other team. So that is a dependency, right? Then we will identify, okay, we want to do complete something. Now that the particular feature we have taken for development in the sprint 4, that means in the sprint 3 they should give us that feature, then only that functionality, then only we will be able to work on it. So that is another type of dependencies we can talk about. But are you clear on the feature driven and date driven planning? Let me put some more questions on this one. Yeah, Noor Mohammed is asking about the cadence. So cadence is something like, when dependencies, the cadence certainly would be very much helpful. Yeah, that is one way. Even if the cadence is there or not, then also we might have external dependencies outside the team. That also we will be able to figure it out when we do the release planning.
Can we say cadence is of equivalent to that of a date-driven release planning? because on periodical basis, the defined set of features has to be released, irrespective of whether we are dependent on other or not. Whatever has been completed, it has to go for that particular release. That is cadence based. That is date driven.
Yeah, but I cannot say that whether the other party has released or not released and other stuff, right? Okay. If you are
So
saying, yeah, cadence based and delivery date driven. Yeah, yeah. From that perspective, it is correct. Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. You are right. Okay, some interesting questions and scenarios. We are talking about, say, date is fixed. We want to release at a certain timeline, like cadence and other stuff. Or scope is fixed. We want to fix on this scope, right? If these features are completed, then we want to release. But what if everything is fixed? Time, scope, and budget, everything is fixed. How do we go about it? Is it possible? What do you think?
See, if everything is fixed, I think that's not agile.
Correct. Well,
So
very
we
true.
are into a I would say waterfall world. Then because see the technology and the things are changing very frequently nowadays. So if everything is fixed, time, scope, and budget in the beginning, we might not be able to delivering the up-to-date product. It would be the outdated one. Yeah.
Wonderful. Very true. Very true. And then the history says, right, based on the research done, if you keep everything is fixed, then more than 50%, or even the research says 80% projects will fail, because that's not possible. And the quality will be compromised. See, if you want to say that, okay, time, scope, and budget, everything is fixed, then don't talk about the quality. We will just say, okay, yeah, this is done as per the expectation. Let it come as a defect and other stuff. The customers will be happy or not, we don't know. And then if these are the very valid one, the word that he used, this is not agile, right? Probably this is not going to work. Okay, another one, very generic one, regulatory requirement with fixed deadline. What would you do? In many companies, what I have seen that regulatory requirements are there and they are with the fixed timeline as well. However, the catch here is the government or whatever, the states, they said, okay, in next 1.5 years, you have to make sure that you fulfill this requirement. But the management will say, okay, we still have 1.5 years, right? Let's take up something else. Let's take up something else. And in the last 3 months, they say, okay, we have this regulatory requirement. And after 3 months, we have to release. Otherwise, CEO will go to jail. And then sometimes they say, I don't mind, or I don't give a thought about whether you follow agile or waterfall, but get this regulatory requirement done on this one. So first is based on the prioritization, though it might not give a monetary value, but yeah, from the disciplinary perspective, it's very important that you should be following this one. So what we are saying is, here regulatory requirement, that means the requirement, the scope is also fixed and time is also fixed. What would be the challenge here?
Budget.
I'm not able to hear you properly.
When we have enough budget, like if we release additional budget.
Yeah, most of the time they will have additional budget. But say if one team, the agile team, there are 10 members into it, right? And then you say we have additional budget, and then we can give you 2 more resources or 2 more associates. That doesn't mean that we will be able to complete those requirements, because they will be the newbies, right? Probably it will eat up more time. So these are the red flags. If there is no buffer, probably regulatory requirement, fixed deadline, we have to keep some buffer for sure. I have said, shall we add buffer? Obviously, at some of the places we have to add buffer. And we fix scope, everything is must have. Yeah. So specifically, I did want to differentiate between the first one and the second one. Fixed scope. And in the fixed scope, if everything is must have, say you have 100 requirements, right, which should go into release. And then if all 100 requirements are in the fixed scope and then all are must have, then there will be a problem. There should be around 60%. See, fixed scope for must haves certainly is possible, but fixed scope for all the must have items, it's not possible. Let me explain you again, I mean, with different terminology. What we are saying is whenever you have fixed scope, there should be around 25 to 30% or 40% requirements which should be nice to have or should have requirements. So what we are saying is fixed scope, so 60 or 70% requirements will be 100% delivered. But if we do not have enough time or budget, then it might be possible that we are not able to complete everything. Then the cut in the scope would be from nice to have or should have requirements. From that perspective, it will work out well. Next question is, shall we add buffer? Mansoor is saying no, we shouldn't be adding buffer. Okay. Let me give you one example that if you have to catch a flight at 2 p.m., right? And then you have calculated everything, that how long it will take you to go from your, take a cab and go to airport and then check in and everything. It will take around 2 hours. Normally, would you add buffer? And the answer would be yes. I would be adding buffers, right? But then would you add buffer for each items? Like, okay, you find cab, then there might be some traffic, check-ins, there might be a very long queue. Security will take much longer time. You might forget your boarding pass, you might have misplaced here and there. Now COVID situations are there, they might have different requirements. So probably you will not add buffer in all the worst case scenarios, but obviously you will add buffer and then we'll say, okay, I have, normally it will take 2 hours, but if I may not get cab or there might be long queue in for check-in, for luggage drop or traffic, you consider not everything will happen at same time, but then you will add some buffer and then we'll spend time. You will be much more happy. Even if everything goes by, then also you will say, okay, 30 minutes I have extra, that's perfectly fine. So probably when the timeline is fixed timeline, 2 p.m. you have to catch a flight, you will add buffer for sure. Another example I would say is the one I gave in the fixed scope. Let me give one example for this one, that you are going to a grocery store and then your wife or spouse has given you a list. Okay, this is the items you must bring. And then you do not have enough time. So then you will have items, 30 items to pick from a supermarket. But then you will identify, okay, I have 30 minutes. Which are the most important ones without which I should not go home? Right? Then you know, okay, these are the most important items I should be picking up in 30 minutes. And then if time permits, I will pick up some more. So that's what I mean to say, fixed scope, everything is must have, want to work. There should be some items which are nice to have, should haves, and they will act as buffer, right? If I'm not able to pick up everything, still fine, but the must have items I should pick up. So that is about the requirement. So from that perspective, I should be adding buffer. Another
so what
buffer,
kind of buffer, sorry, what kind of buffer is this? Schedule buffer or what kind of a buffer you call it as? Where are you adding it? Either for timelines or for having the scope fluctuation, or where, what kind of buffer you mean to say?
Yeah, so anything can go wrong, right? Based on your risks as well. Overall, you will be adding buffers for this one. You will not add buffer. See, simple, say your average velocity is 30 per sprint. And say you have 150 story points to complete, then will you say that you will be able to do it in 5 sprints? No. Though 150 divided by 30 is 5 sprints, but that's practically not possible. You will add, okay, we will take 6 sprints, and that's perfectly fine. But you will not add buffer for each and every items. That's what you will have to understand. Even for the dependencies as well, we call it feeding buffer, in the sense that we expect that they will deliver the items at the end of the sprint 3. And then you say, okay, we will pick up the dependent items in sprint 4. They might not give it in sprint 3. You will have to add some buffers. Okay, we will wait for one sprint. If they are not able to deliver on time, we'll pick up the dependent item in sprint 5. That also can be done. So you can, I'm just highlighting on that, okay, buffer is important as well. Probably anyway, management is adding the buffer. So many times what happens that it passes through, say, 3 or 4 people, everybody adds their own buffer, and then the final figure doesn't look good. I said, this is ridiculous. That why we need so much of time to complete a very simple feature. So there should be more discussions about the buffer. Let me complete. There are a couple of more slides, and then if we can discuss more about in the Q&A, so that if others wants to leave, they can leave as well. Yeah, release tracking, burn down chart or burn up chart, or release burn down bar chart, you might have heard. So the bar chart is a bit different. So it is in the bars, it is showing the first sprint, say this is what at the end of the sprint we need to complete, and then it is going down. That means team has completed some items. But when you see it is going beyond 0, that means the scope has changed. They have added more items to it, and team completed some items, but it is
chart, please.
Pardon?
Can you come back to the last chart, last slide? What is this release burn down bar chart? If you can share.
Yeah, so this is what I am showing. This is the bar chart. So rather than having lines, what we are saying is we represent the remaining work as bar, right? And then if it goes below 0, that means that is a scope change. So you see, this is additional work, right? The product management has added. This one also has been added, but in the sprint 6, they have removed some of the backlog, product backlog. If you look at it is going down, that means team is also burning or completing some story points. Many times it goes below 0. So sometimes it's difficult to explain to management as well. If you are comfortable with this one, then should go for this one. Otherwise, I prefer the release tracker chart, so which has much more details, and I prefer this one. So if you look at it, let me explain that what is the remaining work for the release, and for each iteration or the sprint, we will note it down. This is the total work for the release, right? So 250, and then here it is 280. So that means in this time duration, product owner has added 30 points worth of extra work, and then they reduce 10 point, it was constant, and then they reduce 25 story points of worth of work here, right? So this gives me a visual representation is what is happening to my product backlog, whether it is standstill, they are adding new user stories, removing, that can be known from this one. The second one is remaining work. So remaining work at the end of the sprint, because 250 was there and 20 is the completed work. So 230 is remaining, but it increased because they have added some more story points. 25 was completed, but 30 points were added. So it is. So this is showing a burn down chart, right? Release burn down. What is remaining now? So at the end of sprint 7, we still have 62 story points remaining. And this one is burn up chart. What is going up? What are the actual story points which are completed right now? So even this one can be, we can use the trend line, right? If we go at this pace, how long will it take to complete? or if we are burning, right? So say if you can also have an average velocity, which can be another line. I have not kept it here because to keep it very simple.
Oh, this
but
yellow color display, it is not sprint completed. It is the story points. It should be.
Yes, that is sprint story points completed. Very true. Thanks for putting this one. So I
because
was
sprint means it cannot go up and down. Sprint means number of sprints. It could be.
Yeah, this one is story points. You have highlighted correctly. This is story points completed, not sprint completed. Correct. Yellow is the story points completed. So if you identify or plot even this, which are the story point, how many story points, what is the average velocity, then you will come to around 30 is the average velocity. So this will take at least 2 sprints, 3 sprints, and if they complete some reduce some scope, then we should be able to complete by sprint 9. And these also will show the story points completed for each sprint. So I prefer this chart rather than the bar chart, which is a bit difficult to explain. Yeah,
Rahul, sorry. So can you go to previous slide? So here the total story points for that release is 280 is the maximum, right?
Correct.
So 280, but in the first sprint they completed 20 story points. Then that should come to 260, no?
No, this is at the end of the sprint 2, right? So they completed 25 story points as well in the sprint 2.
Okay.
Yeah. So
no, I think sprint started with 250 and
sprint started with 250. So
and
20
it is
completed,
added. Yeah.
230. Again in next sprint, 25 is
we
added.
are considering this one is at the end of sprint 2. Sprint 1, what is the state right now?
Correct. So we started with 250, 20 is completed, 230, right? So again in second sprint,
we had 280, right? They have added 30 points extra, right? But we totally completed 20 plus 25. So 45 story points have been completed. That's why it is 235, which is remaining now. See, this one is showing total story points remaining.
Correct. Got it.
So this one is much, I feel this one is much better than the previous one, because if we can explain, because it is not going below 0, and then this has more data points as well. So we can talk about the story points which are completed, and then this can be used by multiple teams as well, right? You have a release where multiple teams are working on it. Then also you can use this chart. You want to cumulatively put how many story points are completed, or you can put individual team level velocity as well. That can be done.
So this is, I think, the burn down chart, right, Rahul?
Yeah, this is burn down. This is burn up as well, right? How many story points are completed? That also is shown here as well. So I have not given any name burn down or burn up, but burn down, burn up, and then even what is the current state of backlog, how many are removed, how many story points are there for the release, and how they have been changed. So how many story points were added, removed over a period of time. That is also available to us, and how the team is performing. So if 62 story points are there, probably they will need at least third sprint if they are not changing the scope. That data is also available to us. So this is how you track the release as well, right? So we had a product backlog. We did the release planning for a high level plan for multiple iterations, so that we can provide detailed to management when it will be done, what if kind of scenarios can be covered. We can reduce the risk, we can reduce the uncertainty, right? It will help us take more decisions or what should be done and other stuff. And then release planning is like every sprint planning is a kind of release planning we are doing. You can do in between as well, right? And then once the release plan is there, some of the team members, some of the teams might do the release plan in detail. That means they will talk about what we are going to do in each iterations. Some of the teams might say that, okay, in the first 3 iterations, we will do this many stories. In the second 3 iterations, we will do this many stories. And the last 3 iterations, we will do other stories. So that is also possible. But release plan, and then release planning also is based on the date driven. It can be feature driven. It can be like mixed as well. Like we talked about a regulatory requirement with the fixed deadline. But yeah, you can, there are many scenarios will be available, but if we are looking at the quality should not be impacted, sometimes the buffer also is required to be put into this.
I have one question.
Yeah, Nimish.
So in agile means we see that it's related to that chart what we just discussed. Backlog of only 2 sprint, right? So at that time total story points would be 50 story points I have, assuming that 25 story points based on velocity may be complete. So total story point is 50. So my chart, I will not have that complete release plan chart then, right? Means all how many sprint it will take. But yes, it is a 6 months thing. So need to complete 250 features or 150 features in the 6 months of pipeline. So for each features not even identified at a detail level, or it's very high level. So I would not, I may not have estimations for that, relative estimations. So,
correct.
So how this chart always will go up for the total for release, right? The blue line will always go up because every sprint I will identify the story points and it will add that story into the backlog, product backlog means.
Yes, so you see, initially, if you have identified that what will go into a release, right? And then you are come up with some items, say 250 or 280, that's perfectly fine. Now, even sometimes, even when team looks at the story, they will figure it out that, okay, we need to re-estimate this story. Because when we did the estimation at the time of release planning, at that time, we did not have enough details available to us. So now with all the details available, so they might say that, okay, some stories we have to increase, that will increase the release without product owner adding any stories. They might say, okay, it will be 280 story points. But like you gave the example, right? We have to estimate relative estimation. And then when you do not have enough details available to us, right? See, the story points will increase because there is too much of unknown. You don't know what will come up. So you, with whatever details available to us at that point of time, you will estimate it higher. If you,
yes, true.
Rahul,
Girish.
one suggestion. Yeah, our estimate futures been estimated the same way as stories? I don't think so, because futures estimations through WSJF.
No, I just try to explain that at a high level. It's features later will grill down at the story level also. So it is just high level things. Just I want to get clarified. That graph always not be the scene whatever is. It may be go up, and I think it is okay, right? I am trying to understand that.
Yeah. So why it will go up? Because you mean to say that you will drill down or you will break that features or epics into multiple user stories, right?
Right.
That's why.
Correct.
Yeah. So initially, why did you estimate it at a low level? Like, why did you estimate it only 30? And then when you actually went into it, then you are saying, no, it will take 50 story points. So relative estimation certainly here also will be very useful in the sense that in the past, if you had a similar feature initially, which you had estimated 30, but at the time of implementation, actually it was 60 story points. So now this time when you do the release planning, you should give 60 story points. Then when you break that 60 story point epic or feature into multiple user stories, it will come around to 55 to 65 story points only. There won't be a huge increase in the story points, and the blue line also will not fluctuate that much.
Okay.
Rahul, see, when we start the release planning, okay, at that time, so we will not having the story points. It will be in the t-shirt sizing. How this can be arrived?
Yeah, so in the release planning, right? So if you have t-shirt sizing, then do you have the data, existing data from the team which is going to work that for a particular t-shirt size feature, how many iterations they have to work on it? If say for the M feature, it takes around 3 iterations, then you will get that kind of data available to you, right? So that is again relative estimation, and then the historical data, which will play a very bigger role in this one. If you do not have that data, then Girish, what can be done in these cases? You have to break it down into smaller ones and then aggregate to the feature level. In such cases where the requirements are not very clear, then you will have to add some buffer. I still remember one of the feature, more on the validations part for one of the team I was working on. Team said it will take 30 story points, but when it was actually implemented, it took 100 story points. Yes, some of it got compensated by some other stories as well, but yeah, it completely changed the dynamics of what we wanted to release and other stuff.
Because usually the story points and all will be done during the product backlog refinement by the team. So when we start the release at that time, we may not be having the story points for the each feature.
Yeah, so one of the thing or the output, if you look at it in the release planning, right, is also having the estimated requirements. So you provide your product backlog, and then you might need to estimate that as well. Otherwise, how will you say that, okay, these 10 features will take 3 iterations, 10 iterations, or 20 iterations? You would not have any data. So that planning is going to fail, right?
Or any.
So what you can do is, if there are multiple user stories, you just say affinity diagram or affinity kind of estimation, that you group the user story. Bucket theory you can use. This looks similar to this user story. You put it into that bucket and go forward with that one.
Okay. Or any thoughts about like functional points?
So even if you have the data available for functional points, that how many functional points can be completed by a team in one sprint, and then if you are using that data and even everything you are doing based on function points, then that also should work. I don't see any challenges there as well. So you should have a data available, right? And then another thing, when see in the release planning, when we are estimating the requirement, at that time we are estimating the requirements with whatever we know at that point of time, right? Whatever the knowledge, information available to us at that point of time. Now when you go in the backlog refinement, and then more clarity comes up, right, more details emerges, then you might estimate it higher or lower as well. Right? Some of the things will go up, some of the things will go down. Let's say most of the things are going up, there are more things which goes up, then there should be some buffer available to you for such cases. But you also need to consider that, okay, the team velocity is 100. I'm just saying 100%, say 100. Then how much time is spent on technical debt? How much time is spent on working on other aspects? Even the team might be spending some time in the continuous improvement and other stuff. So enablers and other stuff. So you will have to actually figure it out, that what is the actual velocity for that, for the requirements, actual requirements available. And then based on that, you will have to work out.
So one question, can we use a t-shirt size in a user story point level?
User story level.
User story, not user story point. In user story, can we use t-shirt size for a relative estimate?
See, normally t-shirt size would be, we provide for a range. Like when say it's a medium t-shirts user epic or requirement, then we say, okay, it will take 30 to 50 story points. When we assign the t-shirt size to user stories, probably then we are fixing, right, that this is a, this t-shirt size, when I'm saying M, that means it's a 5-pointer only. So it defeats the purpose of using the t-shirt size in the epic. Yeah, from that perspective.
Is it something like Epics is Epics will use the t-shirt size and story point, story will use story points?
So what I have worked right till now is story points are using story points. Epics can use t-shirt size as well, and then you can use even the story points as well. It will be higher number, right? Anyway, you will have to convert the t-shirt size into story points to move forward, and then to know that when this will be released based on the velocity. So in that case, even if you are having like many a times very difficult to estimate epic, so they break it down into smaller chunk requirement and then assign story points to it, aggregate at a epic level. That also is being done. So to answer your questions, at the epic level, I think even story points will work, or t-shirt size also will work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Rahul, is this video recording available in YouTube?
Yeah.
Sorry, I have one question on the buffering part. So what amount of buffer is need to be added in the project plan when I have a a sprint which I want to release it with 10 user stories, and I have a team of 5 members. So that means each member, he will be doing a 2 user stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get this work done in 5 days, but everything goes fine. I mean, ballpark estimation, will it be a 30% that I need to add as a buffer?
So a couple of things I would suggest. One is what is the historical history, whether they are releasing on time, not on time, and other stuff. What is the past performance? Empiricism is very important in this case, right? And then what are the other risks you foresee? See, risks are there. Maybe in the past they are not materialized, that didn't happen, but the risks are there right now as well. So I think the answer would be based on, you will have to decide on this one based on historical data and the risk which are there. Vijay, do you want to add
No, the
anything on
biggest
this?
risk what I can see in the
Go ahead.
Sorry, the biggest risk what I can see in the small size of team is resources going on leave.
Yeah, that is always
Yeah,
there, right?
I mean,
they are going on leave, or they are they leave the company. So many things can come up and other stuff. Those are probably, if that come up, right? If you have, for smaller projects, right, the buffer stuff is very tricky. If you have a 30 people and then you say, I have 33 people, but I will use the budget of only 30 people, then you are just keeping the 10% available to you. However, if you have just 5%, right, 5 people team, and then you say, okay, 1 person is not there, that means directly 20% of your budget or resources are impacted, and that will have
Correct.
a very big impact on this one. So that would be a bit tricky actually.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you can post the questions to me or Vijay as well, and hope you find this session interesting and something you can directly take up in your organization wherever you are working as well. I also would like to thank Vijay and Agile Waters for providing the opportunity and the platform so that we are able to meet each other and share our knowledge. So
how to reach, how